Alice, you're a changed lady. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good considering.
Yeah,
A lot going on around here.
There is a lot going on around here. I was just in the other room. I just saw the baby. He's chilling. Nice fella. Mm-hmm. So far, he's been a nice fellow, I've got to say. Peter Robinson, Shattuck, he's a nice fellow.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if we were just worse at newborns, like when we had our first one, because it seemed like really hard to have a newborn with the first one.
Totally. And there was only one.
I know. But, or if, maybe she was just more difficult and we didn't know. But no, it's having a newborn now seems like he seems very easy. So
yeah,
comparatively.
Yeah. Thanks for all the well wishes and all the sentiments.
Yeah, sorry, I have not gone through and replied to everybody, but I really appreciate everybody.
Toast, thank you for the wonderful gift.
Thank you so much. It was really, really nice.
She should really be a consultant.
A consultant?
She just got such panache.
Yeah.
She's a panache person. That's good to have. I don't have that. I just don't have to see. I mean, you have it sometimes. You have, like, stylistically something pops to you and you know. Mm-hmm. But she just got classy people, We got to hang out with classy people.
Yep.
Will they have us?
I don't know.
And the folks at the hospital were cool, too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the people at the hospital was great.
We were there for 3 days longer than we wanted to be there, obviously. But the food was really good.
The food at the hospital was great. We'll have more coverage of that on the All You Can Eat podcast.
Yes.
Of course.
And there's been developments in the Taco Gigante. There's now been a controversy, which we'll talk about as well in the food podcast. But it's good to be back. Good to be here. I'm telling you, I don't know because if it's 50 now, but I didn't need Matthew Perry dying. I didn't need that.
That's sad.
I would say so.
And like I said to you, it just feels like that show is too recent a show and the people on it too young to have any of them be dying.
Now, I totally agree with that. But there was something about him. He was a guy who, it seemed to me like any time I saw him interviewed, especially in the last 20 years,
that he was struggling.
That there was a sadness bursting out of him. Mm-hmm. And it's too bad. He was such for somebody my age, he was the guidepost. He was the guy that if you could act like that, that was good. Just like that character.
Right.
And Chandler Bing, and just like, obviously, I ran up my Sears credit card, my first credit card ever, just to get a bunch of Chandler vests, and I tried to make my hair like his. It never worked, of course, and it was just a great character. People, people didn't. There was no character like Chandler before Chandler. George Costanza was essentially Woody Allen, but with great writing, etc. But Chandler was just by far the coolest, interesting. And obviously I know he's written, but his acting is good because he was good in movies too.
Right.
He was just a great guy to watch. And yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, this is a guy who's, from what I've gleaned from the end of his life, it seems like he just put himself out. It seems like, I think it feels like he killed himself. Found in the hot tub, and man, sometimes I don't have I don't have depression. I have had rough spots in life where things have happened, but I don't have depression. I don't hear voices. I'm not haunted by the nightmares that some people are. But I can't imagine. I mean, you're supposed to be on top of the world and you're just haunted by this stuff. It's just terrible. But yeah,
it really shows you that stuff though is not it's not a function of where you are in life or what your circumstances are.
No.
Right? Like there are people that have rough circumstances in life that are depressed, and there are people that are happy, and there are people who should be, like you say, on top of the world and are famous and are wealthy and are cool and are beloved by people and just, have these demons.
Yes. And I think that maybe if you're somebody who has these demons and you assume that some level of success might flick a switch and change things for you and let the light in, etc. But apparently it does not.
I think people that have that always feel like, if I only just had X, if I only could get this together, then I could be happy. And then, you know, and you can't always tell from the outside too. There's, you know, been people that I've been, well, and I know his death isn't, you know, at this point considered a suicide necessarily, but but there have been people that I've known that I've been terribly surprised that, you know, have struggled with those things or killed themselves.
Yeah, and with him, he was like, it was a, if it's 1996 and you're Matthew Perry, that's a good place to be. A single guy in Hollywood who's Chandler Bing. That is, Tom Shattuck, because I'm shallow, says I'm dying in the 90s if I'm him for other reasons. For a variety of other reasons. By misadventure. Absolutely. But just a
it's very
terrible.
sad.
And once again, he was the character was kind of like unlike anybody we had seen. This is a little bit of my brother. I remember in the 90s I came home and he said, "You got to see this episode of nobody acted like this. This episode where Chandler goes to see Joey's tailor." And I remember my brother saying, laughing and saying, at one point, Chandler said, "He's a bad man," and was almost crying. And here's a little bit of that.
Hey, anybody know a good tailor?
You need some clothes altered?
No, I'm just looking for a man to draw on me with chalk.
Why don't you go see Frankie? My family's been going to him forever. He did my first suit when I was 15. No, wait, 16. No, excuse me, 15. All right, when was 1990?
Okay, you have to stop the Q-tip when there's resistance.
How long do you want the cuffs?
Oh, at least as long as I have the pants.
I just got that. Okay. Now we'll do your inseam.
Did you see this one?
I don't remember it specifically.
Now he does it while he's doing the inseam. He gets handsy with Chandler Bing. And he's feeling him. He's back home at the apartment.
Yo, paisan. Can I talk to you for a sec? Your tailor is a very bad man.
Frankie, what are you talking about?
Hey, what's going on?
He flinched because he's traumatized.
Joey's tailor
Took advantage of me?
What? No way. I've been going to the guy for 12 years.
Oh, come on. He said he was going to do my inseam, then he ran his hand up my leg, and then there was definite...
What?
Cupping.
That's how they do pants. First they go up one side, they move it over, then they go up the other side, they move it back, and then they do the rear. What? Ross, will you tell him? Isn't that how a tailor measures pants?
Yes, it is. In prison? What's the matter with you?
What? That's not...
This is visual, but he's very Chandler.
Oh, my God.
Oh, there you go. Well, actually, is there anything left of this? Maybe this one little bit scene is...
No, I swear to God, Dad. That's not how they measure pants.
Anyway, yeah. It's the best. Absolutely the best.
A lot of people talking about him in what's the movie with Bruce Willis?
Yeah,
too?
I forgot what it's called.
Anyway, because Bruce Willis has been in the news too, that he's really fading.
Yeah.
Also, which is also sad. And his family's posting about it. And I've seen some controversy about that, like people saying like, "Oh, I hate that his family's posting like that."
It's the whole 9 yards. That was a great movie.
Yeah. You know, because his family posted. Did you see this? And said he's not verbal anymore.
Oh no, yeah,
and like that, but that he's still him, and they love him and whatever, and like photos, and you know, some people were saying like, "Oh, I would hate if my family posted me like this," and blah blah blah. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure that they're getting. I mean, a lot of people love Bruce Willis.
Yeah, and want to know how he's doing, and I think I'm sure they talked about it to him.
Yeah,
before,
well, sure, and I'm sure it actually allows them to something to read to him. You know, and maybe it'll sink in. Maybe who knows? So that is awful. There's another guy, Bruce Willis, he was kind of one of a kind too. Just this mix of charisma and charm and just dang. So among other things now, Alice, there are people lynching Jews around the world now is the newest thing. This is freaking crazy at this airport
in Dagestan.
In Dagestan, where the new thing is here. Let me read the deal here. Pro-Palestinian mobs force flight from Israel to Russia to be diverted and target next airport where it landed too. This is the new thing. New York Post. Mm-hmm. A flight from Israel to Russia had to be diverted Sunday and still faced riots at the next airport where it landed when pro-Palestinian mobs stormed the facility seeking to attack Jewish flyers, reports said. There's some horrific video of people interrogating people they think are Jews to, I assume, kill them. And this is a problem. You've also had outbreaks and clashes in all sorts of cities, etc. Is it possible that this nightmare is actually unfolding the way we had thought or dreaded?
So it's to be clear, this is not. And I looked this up because I wasn't 100% sure, because I don't know that much about those like Central Asian Russian republics that are there. And, Dagestan is like over 80% Muslim. So
yeah, well, I figured that's what happened.
And the protests that are in the United States and in London and in France and in Germany are heavily influenced by the Islamic population, right?
Oh, of course.
By the Muslim, by migrants. This is not Germans or like ethnic Europeans or something. Not that they've been innocent of that in the past, a bunch of European countries of persecuting Jewish people.
Right.
But at this point in time, this is not white nationalists, this is not neo-Nazis, this is not, thank you. I know the ADL put out a statement saying that white nationalists are gathering against Israel, which is not the news story right now. That's not what this is. So what's going on in Dagestan, what's going on in Germany, what's going on in London, huge, massive anti-Israel protests in London. It's kind of shocking. I mean, and it makes you wonder, honestly, if it's like with all the migration and everything, too late for Europe.
Yeah.
And especially because all these migrants are way, way higher fertility rate than like native populations in those countries. So, I mean, like, I don't know what's going to happen in those nations, but like, they're not going to be the same countries that like, it's not the same London you visited in the 90s anymore.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing, but that's like what's driving this is this global move of population, which is interesting coming from the same people who are claiming that Israel's a colonial power because they're saying they're not native to the region.
Right.
Which isn't even true, first of all, but whatever. Anyway, but it's also interesting to me because like a lot of these people that are going around saying they're like definitely not anti-Semitic, but, and then saying all kinds of stuff about Israel, I think they really reveal themselves a lot because they will in the same breath tell you that like the American citizens that are being held by Hamas as captives and human shields and bargaining chips are, they're dual citizens, or they're not like really Americans, or they served in the IDF, so like they don't count as American citizens. But then at the same time, we'll tell you that Israel is a colony of the West and that Jewish people don't really belong there either. So tell me exactly where the Jewish people are supposed to live if they don't belong here and they don't belong there.
That's a great point. That's a great point. This is the Dagestan airport. They're throwing a cop car over there. And
They don't belong in Dagestan. They don't belong in Europe. They don't belong in America. And they don't belong in the Middle East. So where... You're not anti-Semitic, but where are the Jewish people allowed to live? Because I'm not totally clear on where you think they should be allowed to be.
Right.
And this has been, that's an ongoing issue for the Jewish people. And the whole reason why Israel exists is because it's not like, and I saw somebody tweet this, I stole this take from a tweet, but somebody was saying like, a bunch of people seem to be under the impression that Jewish people are originally from Europe and everything was going fine until the whole Nazi thing, which is not true. I mean, there were ongoing problems with Jewish people being persecuted in Europe and kicked out of European countries. I mean, going all the way back. I'm not just talking about like the Spanish Inquisition or out of England in the Middle Ages or whatever. Like the Roman Empire kicked the Jewish people out of Rome in the time of early Christianity, partially because they perceived Christianity and the social problems it was causing in the empire to be sort of an internal Jewish theological argument. And so they kicked all the Jewish people out in the Edict of Claudius in the first century. But so, this has been a long-standing issue for Jewish people, is that they have been perceived to be foreigners in other countries where they are, because they don't fully assimilate, because they have their own very ancient and venerable religious and cultural traditions that they adhere to, that are why we still have a Jewish people in the world. And so they've frequently been perceived to be foreigners. So that's something that when I talk to Jewish people about these things, they say always is like major red flag when they start hearing those words like dual citizen, or, that it means like people are saying you don't really belong here. And that's a type of thinking about Jewish people that has preceded bad stuff for Jewish people in a lot of their history. Right.
And obviously the whole reason for the state of Israel to be brought to fruition was that they needed a place, and their ancestral home made sense, and they needed a government and an army.
Right.
Which they have, because without an army and without being moored to a state, they're just going to be genocided and holocausted again.
Mm-hmm. And they were genocided and holocaused in that spot too, going back thousands of years as well, which is, what a bunch of the later books of the New Testament are about, including like Maccabees and some of these. And, they were conquered by other empires. Like when we talk about the lost tribes of Israel, we're talking about tribes that were scattered and destroyed over time. And, by these other conquering empires that, essentially genocided Jewish people out of that region. But clearly, we know, for example, that like half the Jewish people in Israel today are native to that region, are not, people from the West moving to Israel, which also exists as well, by the way. But, but yeah, that's the reason why there is an Israel, is because everywhere else Jewish people have been throughout their history, people have decided that they don't really belong there and tried to get rid of them.
This thing we're seeing, searching airports for Jews, this is not good.
No.
This is bad. And the fact that the conventional wisdom or the conventional position now has moved so far over to radical is not good either.
Well, and I want to talk about this because this is really interesting to me, because we talked obviously about that poll that was showing that young people are extremely radical on Israel and like think Palestine is great or whatever and believe all this stuff about it being Israel being a colonial power. And I didn't realize, but apparently a lot of that is coming from young people getting their news from TikTok. Like a lot of people consider, and this makes sense to me when you start to understand, like we get all our news from Twitter. A lot of sort of the boomer generation, many of them treat like Facebook as the internet, right? Where they go on Facebook and it's where they see news articles and that's where they see stuff. That's like their portal into the world of everything that's on the internet. And for us, like Twitter plays a lot of that role, but like for boomers, it's very much like the Facebook stuff. But for Gen Z, that's TikTok. They're going.
That's amazing.
I don't understand that personally because I hate watching videos, especially videos that autoplay as I scroll. Like I don't want to see videos. It irritates me. I much prefer written content, but
that's amazing though, because if you're treating what you're seeing on TikTok everything as valid, then if you have no internal filter,
there's just insane people on TikTok that say all kinds of things, and some of them are really, really dumb. But because their TikTok has a super smart algorithm that's completely engagement driven, it's, you know, this stuff just runs wild. And because it's like snowballed now that TikTok is so pro-Palestine, that's the stuff that gets the engagement and gets the eyeballs on it that is now incentivized too. So these content creators keep doing more of it. It's terrible. And that's where Gen Z gets a ton of their news. So it's, I mean, I don't know. I feel like you and I both are sort of in between where, you know, the boomer generation is like very pro-Israel on Facebook, and then like Gen Z is super anti-Israel on TikTok, and like we're just trapped in between all these lunatics.
But the problem is that these people who want to make sure they buy shampoo that's not tested on rabbits,
right,
are okay with the annihilation of the Jewish people,
right?
Because giving Israel to Palestine means killing all the Jews.
Right, exactly.
So, like, I don't understand how these people, the yard sign set is okay with this.
Well, right, but they're, I mean,
but it's also in the media, which
so listen to this. Play this girl. I just sent her to you. This is like an example of the TikTok content that's out there, just to give you an idea of how dumb so much of this stuff is. I saw this reposted on Twitter by somebody who was sharing this in a positive way. They think this is like a smart video, which I think is absolute insanity, but listen to this.
I want y'all to be perfectly aware of something. When you see Biden start walking back his statements being like, oh, actually, Palestinians don't deserve to be slaughtered en masse in an open air prison. When you see that, know that the Democratic Party is absolutely scrambling over this. They have access to data and analytics on that you never even would think to like track and have data on. They have access to that, and they have people with doctorates poring over all that, and they are seeing that the old guard shock and awe tactics that like manufactured consent from Iraq aren't working on the demographics that they want it to work on.
I don't know what she's talking about.
Just keep going for a second.
Okay, hold on.
Because look, I lived through the invasion of Iraq and then the expanding to Afghanistan. I was young, but I do remember how it was. There were protests at that time, massive worldwide protests against the invasion of Iraq. People knew that shit was wrong from the jump.
Okay, good pause. But did she live through the invasion of Iraq and then the subsequent expansion to Afghanistan, honey?
She was alive and in Brooklyn, if that's what you mean.
Did we invade Iraq and then expand into Afghanistan?
I missed that. I was getting the swears. I missed that.
But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of takes that are like going viral on TikTok is like, oh yeah, they lied to get us into Iraq and Afghanistan, and now they're lying again, and we're gonna like go kill.
But the problem is,
and like,
it's that people are either broken or now skewed in moving towards the anti-Semitic position on this stuff. The kill Israelis. So I was listening to
but they're just ignoramuses. They're
not
just
all
insane.
of them. I was just listening to the guy from the ADL was on a podcast. I forgot which one. Jonathan Greenblatt, who's a big Democrat, fine, but he's the ADL guy, and he said some strong stuff in support of not killing Israelis and Jews worldwide. But then he said, how did we get here? Essentially, if you look at the authoritarianism of the Trump administration, it's like, what is going on? What? Trump is not an authoritarian. He never used the military to do stuff, okay? Authoritarians use, it's like, so he's broken. And that's
he's also like the most pro-Israel, pro-Jewish president that we've ever had.
Yes. And so that brings me to the State of the Union with Jake Tapper. And if you watch the weekend shows, I listened to 4 of them. They have moved to when's Israel going to stop pounding Gaza? When are they going to stop pounding Gaza? When are they going to stop doing? That's what they've moved to. So, for instance, that's what the questioning is now. Essentially, is like, when are you going to stop? When are you going to stop doing this?
Isn't it enough now?
Yes. So listen to this. Tapper himself is gone. Hello.
What do you need, my friend?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure, try not to knock.
Tapper himself has just lost his mind, and it's like Greenblatt. These people are just losing it. But I'm going to start with Margaret Brennan from Face the Nation. Listen to the question she asks. Now, Jake Sullivan is answering the questions. They never ask him about all
We have to talk about Jake Sullivan in a minute.
Right.
Also.
So listen to this. Listen to the Margaret Brennan. The questions she asks him.
Does the U.S. know if the roughly 500 to 600 Americans in Gaza have survived the past 23 days of bombing and have the hostages? Let me ask you about Israel and how it has explained its mission to the U.S. government. Saturday, their military said it killed a Hamas leader who had overseen the drone strikes and the paragliders who carried out that horrific attack on October 7th. They'd already announced that they'd killed the commander of forces responsible for the massacre at Kibbutz Narim and another key Hamas commander. Have they told you yet at which point they will declare this mission a success?
Mission? What mission? Declare this mission a success? They are at war. Is Israel not to have war when they're at war?
The government of the country next door sent in military troops to slaughter civilians in an act of terror.
Right.
I mean, like, it's like a Pearl Harbor or a 9/11 or, they're now in a war with this country because the country created an actual cause for them to go to war with them. The government of the country.
Yes.
Hamas is the government in the Gaza Strip. They're the elected government. So, I mean, this isn't like, a few bad apples who happen to live in Gaza. This is the actual, it's not even, it's such an insane take. It's like you can't even respond to it.
Well, yes, but it's not it. That's not even it. Listen to these questions.
And a success? Do you expect at this point a full-scale Israeli invasion and occupation of Gaza? Or is that off the table? Secretary Blinken said even a temporary pause in bombing would benefit Hamas. He said that on this program last week. Then a few days later, he went to the UN and said a humanitarian pause must be considered. Then the U.S. at the UN voted against a humanitarian truce. So what exactly is the Biden administration calling for here? Because everyone from the Pope to the World Health Organization to the UN is saying just stop the violence for a period of time at least. I understand this is another country's decisions here, but the U.S. gives more than $3 billion a year in aid to Israel. Some of those weapons being used in Gaza are purchased or help to be purchased with U.S. taxpayer funds. So whether it's intended or not, to some of the world, it looks like the U.S. is endorsing all of what Israel is doing here. Are you at all asking the military to be more limited in its tactics or more strategic?
Are you going to make sure that we have an antiseptic war, please?
I know.
First of all, as far as you know, you're talking about those prisoners, et cetera, in there. As far as we know, they're being murdered and tortured and raped right now.
Right.
It's like, what are you doing? How dare they? How dare we even have this conversation? Like, and all the questions were in that direction. Gaza's really being pounded. We're going to have Gaza. How about Gaza? Okay, so they'll stop the pounding in Gaza. Is that going to encourage more attacks, like we just saw, or less? These terrorists need to be killed. They all need to be killed.
And they're terrorizing their own people too, by the way, because the whole reason why, Israel, despite their best efforts, has killed civilians in Gaza, the whole reason why is because Hamas won't let them leave and insists they stay there as human shields and parks all their missiles and stuff right in the middle of the most sensitive civilian areas like hospitals and stuff. It's an intentional tactic to hurt their own population to bully Israel also.
Absolutely it is. Of course it is. And
so that and these people on the stupid Sunday shows play right into it.
Yes.
It's like they're the people, I remember like when people would talk about in Vietnam, how all the stuff, the like protests and everything and the Fonda stuff would all be used like to tell the American servicemen who were prisoners of war and stuff, like, see, they don't really care about you and they know they're in the wrong and you're in the wrong and all this stuff. And they, we're doing the same thing somehow, making the same mistakes where it's like we're giving encouragement to the worst people on the earth and making them look like the good guys by playing into their narrative that they're intentionally creating on purpose.
Yes.
Don't even give it credence.
No.
They're using their own population as hostages to make Israel look bad. And our stupid media just turns around and goes, why is Israel doing this mean thing? Like, they don't hold anybody to the standards that they hold Israel to. It's so crazy.
What's in your mouth?
Chocolate.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. And precisely. What is it? What do they want to do? So it's more bearable for Hamas to wantonly target civilians for torture and murder. That's better.
Israel's supposed to just put up with
because
that.
Israel's the oppressor. Because they have running water in Israel. It's like, holy frig, it's unbelievable. But here's Jake Tapper also not only was hammering Jake Sullivan with all the questions, but then does a weird pivot. He's lost his mind or is trying to win a Peabody Award, an Emmy. I don't even know what he's trying to win, but it's weird.
Is Israel making limited, targeted, specific, discrete attacks, or are they carpet bombing, or is it indiscriminate? What's your take? What's your analysis?
Well, as you said, Jake, and we've said this.
Wait. What is it? What are you talking about, dude? Israel just got attacked. They have to kill the enemy. The enemy's hiding behind civilians, like you just said. Don't make a thing out of it. The Israelis are not targeting civilians, okay? No. They're not. They're targeting Hamas. If Hamas is hiding behind civilians, they'll do what they can. But sometimes this stuff happens when you've got a bunch of cowardly butchers hiding behind people.
Did the media do this stuff during, like, World War II?
No.
Did they go, like,
no, although there was,
what about all the German civilians in Dresden?
There was conversations about the Dresden, about the daytime bombings from the B-17s causing all sorts of stuff. And I don't recall if there was with the Doolittle raids, but there was some concern, I think. Just because the news accounts, obviously.
I mean, the nuclear bombs probably.
But
there was
not
some.
Nobody was saying, when are you going to stop the war?
Right.
Can you call a ceasefire now? No. We poured more people in, obviously.
This ourselves from the White House podium, we do believe that thousands of Palestinian civilians have been killed in this bombardment. And every single one of those deaths is a tragedy. Every human life is sacred, whether it's Palestinian, Israeli, American, or any life. And we stand firmly for the proposition that all measures should be taken that are reasonable and responsible to protect the lives of civilians. As I said,
he's giving obviously a plastic answer. He has to. He can't really say anything at all. But the administration has obviously they're sensitive to this, but they're giving the nod. Okay, fine. Although they're sensitive to this. But then Tapper takes the ball and goes to a bizarre area.
Said before, Hamas is going out of its way to make this more difficult. They are hiding among, integrating among those civilians and turning those civilians into human shields. But that does not lessen Israel's responsibility in this regard. And we have had conversations privately as well as our public pronouncements, private conversations with Israel about the need to protect innocent civilians and to be targeted in their military operations so that it's focused on the terrorists and not on innocent people whose lives deserve to be protected.
Yeah. Look, I'm not pretending I have the answers. I get it. Israel, look, I mean, we can go back however many years people want, if whether they want to start in the Hashemite Kingdom or the Ottoman Empire or 1948 or 1968 or 1973 or 2000 or 2008. Whenever they want to start the conversation, we can start.
Weird, like humble brag by Jake Tapper, who like Googled, conflicts. I don't know what that's about, but his mind is, and I don't know if this is emblematic of a bunch of people in media, because his mind, you look at the op-ed writers, the progressives from the New York Times, like, what are you talking about? This should be visceral and logical at the same time.
Right.
This weird default to, we need a ceasefire. They were talking about a ceasefire 2 days into it.
It's so bizarre.
So listen to this. Then Tapper spends the last 3 minutes, and this tells you all you need to know. Listen to this. If this is not a psychological exercise, Alice, to change the culpability, to change the focus of this thing, this was just bizarre.
The degree to which some folks only pretend to care about anti-Semitism when they can weaponize it never ceases to amaze. Allow me to tell you about a brand new House Republican resolution to censure Democratic Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, the first Palestinian American woman in Congress. Now, accusations of anti-Israel and anti-Semitic statements from Tlaib are not exactly new, and I'm just talking about from her fellow House Democrats. Attention on Tlaib refocused after the explosion at the Baptist Hospital in Gaza a week and a half ago. The Hamas-run Palestinian Ministry of Health immediately blamed Israel for what they called a strike, while Israeli and eventually U.S. intelligence ultimately suggested it was more likely from a misfired Palestinian rocket. Despite all the new evidence, Tlaib waited more than a week to add a clarification to her tweet that others have raised doubts about the claim. She did leave her original tweet up. She got a lot of criticism from fellow Democrats, and you might be sitting there thinking, okay, I can see why.
No, so now, okay, so it's on Tlaib, right? Watch him push the burden off of Tlaib into somewhere else. And this is weird. And I'm worried that this means that he is trying to reconcile what's happening in a different way.
Right.
That might bother, even outrage people. But
this is the last few minutes of his show. She's getting a ride, but did you see that?
Yep.
Yeah. This is the last few minutes of the show. This is the editorial portion. We're talking about the war now in Gaza, in Israel, etc. But then we're not.
Are House Republicans really in a position to censure Tlaib? I mean, the leading Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump, I mean, he dined with Holocaust deniers.
Why are we talking about him? And is he president right now?
I know. What is he in charge of?
They can't censure him, okay?
Donald Trump posted a screed accusing liberal Jews of, quote, voting to destroy America and Israel last Rosh Hashanah to nary a peep from any House Republican leaders.
Why is he doing this?
Right.
This is weird. And I don't know if it's to try to take the anti-Semitism thing away from his side or away. I mean, he should be talking about Hamas right now. If he's all in on the cause, he's in Israel. He's standing up there in Israel, in Tel Aviv.
I mean, let's just take as an example, I don't know, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia.
Oh, I don't know. He thinks he's on to something. He's flourishing now, just in case you haven't noticed. So, I don't know, top of my head. Like taking a John Oliver tact in his approach. It's like, what is this? You're using smug sarcasm in your stand-up editorial about the Hamas massacre of Jews? What's going on here? Why are we getting like Shecky Tapper doing this song and dance routine?
I mean, Greene spoke at the white supremacist conference run by Holocaust denier, racist, anti-Semite Nick Fuentes.
Right.
And Nick Fuentes did what exactly here?
Well, yeah, but right, and she's an idiot, and he's a dirtbag, and neither of them are Hamas.
Right.
Neither of them heaped praise upon Hamas or condemned Israel.
Fuentes
no.
Israel.
But even if he did, who cares? He's a
he's a
loser.
Twitter loser.
He's a fringe loser
who participated in that hateful 2017 Charlottesville rally. Now, Greene later said she didn't know.
No. A massacre is hateful. A Charlottesville rally with racists are morons. Okay? Yeah. It's two different things altogether. The hateful. You can't say hateful doing a stand-up standing in Tel Aviv. You can't use that term anymore.
Right.
About groypers or boneheads with Home Depot torches. It's so freaking gross, but the conflation is there.
Fuentes' views, although they were...
By the way, why are you mentioning Nick Fuentes? Why are you giving this guy publicity?
Well known. This is the same Marjorie Taylor Greene who has pushed the great replacement theory in videos, the deranged notion that rich Jews are trying to replace white Americans and Westerners with blacks and brown Muslims.
What is going on here? You're in Tel Aviv. There's a war on. You insecure, frigging self-absorbed hack.
Not to mention, of course, her Jewish space laser conspiracy that a consortium, including, yes, wealthy Jews, were using lasers on satellites.
So is the space laser set the problem that Jews are having in 2023?
Have they done something to Jewish people recently?
Or are they freaking morons that nobody cares about? There is a massacre afoot. They're searching for Jews in airports in big cities.
Right.
Jake.
Start forest fires. Here in Israel, Greene has gotten some attention for belittling the Holocaust by tweeting, quote, "Joe Biden is Hitler," with the hashtag Nazi Joe has got to go. And for saying that then Speaker Nancy Pelosi's House floor mask mandate was an abuse, just like how Jews were, quote, put in trains and taken to gas chambers.
Is that where people in Israel, is that where their heads are right now?
Yeah, they're
the
all talking
was bad,
about how
but
Marjorie Taylor Greene used a hashtag with Hitler in it.
In Nazi Germany, under fire, Greene visited the Holocaust Museum and apologized. So
this is now minute 3.
Has Hamas visited the Holocaust Museum and apologized yet?
I guess they don't have to. They didn't say space laser stuff, so they don't have to.
Let me tell you something. You're never going to believe who the Republican offering this motion to censure Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib is.
This is Shecky Tapper once again has set us up. Oh, I wonder who it is.
I want you to take a guess. Go ahead.
We already know, Jake.
Take a guess.
We all already know.
That's right. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene. And it gets worse, because when you read Greene's resolution, you realize it is A, written by someone who seems to have learned about the Arab-Israeli conflict maybe 10 minutes before, who maybe didn't even have access to Wikipedia.
I'm standing here in the massacre site where a backbencher, insane congresswoman wrote a bad resolution is the main story.
She probably can't name the Hashemite kingdom like I can.
No, right.
Yeah. And B, while there are plenty of valid criticisms of Congresswoman Tlaib, this resolution twists a bunch of things that she said beyond recognition.
Watch. I can imagine him in the pre-production meeting with like 11, 26-year-olds saying, "I'm going to wreck MTG. Yeah, that resolution, watch this. I'm going to torch her. It's going to go viral."
And see, the resolution seems much more focused on January.
Why are we talking about a resolution? Resolution is a symbolic bunch of nothing that doesn't do anything. that's aimed in this case at somebody who was propagating false narratives that resulted in more violence around the world and is going to result in more persecution of more Jewish people.
Right.
January 6th than it does on October 7th. Throughout its pages, Marjorie Taylor Greene describes this act.
Is there no senior management around to say, what is this freaking
Yeah,
moron?
can we focus on the news that's actually happening
Why
in
did
the
we
world,
fly him to
Jake?
Israel? Why did we do this?
Civil disobedience from a bunch of left-wing Jewish groups that are critical of Israel's government. This act as an insurrection. This is not an insurrection.
There's only one
It
insurrection.
might be a bunch of folks with whom you disagree. It might be a bunch of people you think are misguided, acting in a way you don't like. But this is not an insurrection.
Wait a second. So Marjorie Taylor Greene was wrong about one of the bombastic things that she's written? She's got a wrong take on something?
Yeah.
Anti-Semitism
There we go. Big finish.
is not a cudgel to be used against people for political points.
Unless, of course, Democrats need to use it. What? Unless Democrats, of course, need to use it. This is Jake's big moral high ground here.
Anti-Semitism is not a cudgel to be used against people for political points. Nor is Islamophobia.
Until we need it to be all the time, obviously. Until Donald Trump's yard signs look like a sheriff's badge, which can look like a Star of David, which is an implied threat dog whistle. Then it's a cudgel.
Right.
Then it's a cudgel.
Or racism, or anti-gay behavior, or misogyny, or any other kind of bigotry. Just over 3 weeks ago.
You can't mention George Soros because that's anti-Semitism.
Right. Now listen to bring it home.
Points. Nor is Islamophobia or racism.
No. Nobody in CNN used racism as a cudgel to attack opponents. No.
Or anti-gay behavior, or misogyny, or any other kind of bigotry. Just over 3 weeks ago, 1,400 people, mostly Jews, mostly civilians, were slaughtered here.
Yeah, and Rashida Tlaib was for it. That's the problem that we're talking about.
Right. So, by the way, you're telling us what happened now. You've been talking about the bleach blonde psycho congresswoman now for 4 minutes.
Who's also totally moderated and become completely establishment now at this point and is like a non-thing.
Right.
In some of the cruelest and most unimaginable ways, in the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. This is not a game.
Oh, he's really mad now.
Thank you for spending your Sunday morning with us.
Wow. This bleep is not a game, which tells you, by the way, that was canned so they could bleep it out.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's CNN, they don't have to bleep anything
that.
out.
Yeah, no, he prepared that.
Yes.
And they specifically wrote it that way with that in it so that he could seem like he was really mad and they could bleep it out. I have more to say on this that we're going to do in the Patreon show because I want to talk about an article that Jake Sullivan wrote for Foreign Affairs magazine that that in the lead up to the October 7th attack on what's wrong?
The baby is making noises.
Okay, I'll be right there. Noises is okay. And when he actually starts crying, I'll grab him.
I think that's what's happening.
He was, but I tried to help him.
Okay.
Oh, I have a feeling maybe you bugged him, and that's why he's making noises. Because you wanted us to stop doing the podcast. Because you keep asking when we're done, and then all of a sudden the baby was making noises. So I think... Anyway, just leave him alone. I'm listening. I can hear him too.
So when Jake Tapper says this bleep is not a game, this bleep is a game for many.
Okay.
And I don't know.
And he did not ask Jake Sullivan, and nobody talked to Jake Sullivan as far as I could tell about this article that we are going to talk about on the Patreon side. So because Jake Sullivan wrote a very long essay about how successful the Biden administration has been in the Middle East and how peaceful they've made it for Foreign Affairs magazine, that they edited it for the digital version that came out.
This is amazing.
But unfortunately for the Biden administration, I'm sure they tried to do something about this, but it had already gone to print.
Yes.
When the October 7th
it was taking a victory lap. It's
happened.
beautiful.
So we will talk about that. We will read some quotes from it. We will also talk about the new Speaker of the House. I want to get to that. And which I know that you're all feeling much more at ease now that Congress has a speaker again. And There was at least one more thing I wanted to get to, but I forget. We'll get to it.
Well,
on
we got the
other
shooting
side.
in Maine.
Yes, the shooting in Maine, all this stuff. So much going on. If you are on the Patreon show, stay right there. And if not, you can sign up for the Patreon at patreon.com/burnbarrel. But yeah, we have to do the Chelsea Fire Wicked hotline as well, right?
Hey guys, Paul in the car.
Hey, Paul.
I actually don't believe I have a point on here in this message.
This is 5 days ago, so who knows where we are.
I am just completely astonished at the last few episodes, just the content that you guys are sharing in the sense that it's just unbelievable. I mean, Tom, you keep saying it's remarkable. I agree. I just cannot believe, and am without words, really, what's going on in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, between KGP up there talking about Islamophobia and sprinkling in, you know, the word Jews once just to, that's right. That's what they were asking. I mean, we are a complete laughingstock as a country, and I completely blame two groups of people, and they are almost one and the same. Those that voted for Joe Biden and those that are under the age of, 28. We might as well say 30 for a round number, but they are single-handedly ruining this country, and I think we're at a point of nearly no return. I'm just not sure we will recover in our lifetime, unfortunately, and I fear for my children because I didn't grow up in a country like that, and it's amazing how quickly we've just completely flushed it down the toilet. And, now I have to talk to my kids about gender identity and, that that your school teachers are brainwashing you and that, our government hates you and most of the people you pass by on the street hate this country. And it just, what a time, as you guys keep saying. So I hate to really have no point other than just a grouse session, but
I hear you, man.
I it's just still without really anything, strong to say, or not even the right word, but you can tell. Just I'm beside myself that this is where things are at. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, it's every single day. I'm like trying to wonder, like, is this really happening? Is this now what happens at airports all over the place?
Yeah, this is
what
where we are. Yeah,
all these really good people really feel this way. It's like, yeah. I just wonder, is this the big nightmare unfolding?
Yeah.
How far does this go here? And I don't know. I never thought. I never thought that. I mean, this is who we are. This is what 22-year-olds do. Like I've said before, they're all like all these college co-eds ripping down posters remind me of Manson's girls.
Mm-hmm.
They're enraptured in something, and they look like co-eds. But there's something dark happening here, and it's freaking crazy.
Hey guys, I'm just catching up on some episodes, and in the beginning of Monday's episode, I'm still trying to understand because it was the longest and confusing thing of all time. Tom, did you win a taco award? Did you eat tacos with Taylor Swift? Listening to Britney Spears music? Was Alice involved? Not involved? My head was spinning after 5 minutes. Can you, in layman's terms, help us understand what happened?
Yeah, that's a good point, because I don't think I adequately did describe that. Yes, I won a taco award, the Taco Gigante Challenge. I did at Margarita's. There's still one more day to do it, or 2 more days to do it through October. You can take the Taco Gigante Challenge. Me and my neighbor did it. It's a 1 foot wide, 2-pound taco, and if you can eat it, and there's no real time limit, but then you win free tacos for a year. So I did it. I'm now a Taco Gigante champion. I think I have the sticker here somewhere right here. I see that. Oh, I think, is it there? No, it's the wrong computer. Yes, so that's what happened. We both won the awards. I'll have more on that. We had some other people try it too, and so. But yeah, so that's what that is. It was do it, Steve. You got a Margaritas near you. Taco Gigante Challenge. Do it. And, do it where, they owe us t-shirts too. I got to get those t-shirts. Oh, here we go. This is his debut.
Mm-hmm.
This is Peter Rabbit, guys. His debut.
They can't see him yet.
Okay.
And here's to you, Peter Robinson.
Hey.
All the luck is with you from today. Hey, hey, hey. Congratulations, you two.
Thank you so much.
Another little baby Shattuck.
Yeah.
Oh, the burn barrel just keeps it growing.
Absolutely, Dr. Cheswick. We certainly, these are exciting and adventurous days. I'm glad everybody's with us for the ride.
Thank you so much for listening. And once again, for all your well wishes and everything, we appreciate it so much. The rabbit appreciates it. And like I said, if you are on the Patreon stream, just stay there and we'll pop over to do a little bit of Patreon show because there's more stuff we definitely want to talk about. And we will see you there. And of course, you can always listen to the show for free at burnbarrelpodcast.com.
C'est la vie.